Back in the 1980s and 1990s, Gremlin Interactive, also known as Gremlin Graphics, were a popular British games developer. 6 of their titles from that era have now come to the Evercade, and in this video we're going to take a look at Premier Manager 97. Now, since Blaze Entertainment, the team behind the Evercade, are based in the UK, they fairly naturally put quite a few football, or soccer if you'd prefer, games onto the console. We've had Super Goal 2, Football Madness, World Trophy Soccer, Sensible Soccer, and in fact we've also got actual soccer on this very Gremlin cartridge. So for some people, football is more than well catered to across the Evercade cartridges available, and I can see their point even if I'm quite a fan of retro football titles myself. So with all of this being said, it did raise an eyebrow to see Premier Manager 97 in the lineup when this cartridge was announced. Not only is it another football based game, this one is a football management game. And not just a football management game, it's one based primarily in the 3rd division of the English Football League. And it's not just based in the 3rd division of the English Football League, it's based in the 3rd division of the English Football League in the 1996-1997 season. So we're talking over 25 years ago for the time period that this game is based in. This could be a beautiful trip down nostalgia lane if you're a die-hard football fan back at that time, but it's likely to be something of a barrier to entry for a lot of people. Now, the Premier Manager series was a popular one in the UK, and it was one of the titles that was a forerunner to the Football Manager titles of today, along with other games like Championship Manager. Premier Manager ran for several years, starting in 1992, and it got yearly releases up until 2009. The series really hit its popularity height around the end of the 90s though, pretty much where the time of this game hits. Football management sims are best suited to a PC, as I'm sure everyone would know, but Premier Manager 97 surprisingly had a release on the Sega Mega Drive, and that's the version we've got included on the Evercade cartridge here. You begin things by naming your manager and then choosing whether you want to play a full game or a demo game. This is an odd way of framing how the game works, as essentially the full game forces you to choose a team in the lowest league, Division 3, while the demo mode lets you choose any team, including some of the heavy hitters in the Premier League like Liverpool, Man U or Newcastle United. So why is it called a demo mode? Well, in this mode you might only get access to one season of gameplay before it concludes, and then you're back to the main menu. I believe you can enter some cheat code however and keep that game save with your top tier team going. If you're a long time football fan, then the choice of Division 3 teams that are available to you in the full game mode is a pretty interesting one. There's some teams that have graced the big time in recent years, such as Brighton, Cardiff, Swansea and Fulham, as well as teams like Torquay United, who have only found their position in the footballing pyramid worsen since 1997. There's 24 teams to choose from here, with others available including Barnet, Wigan Athletic, Cambridge United, Chester, Exeter City, Mansfield Town and plenty more. Teams from the then Divisions 1 and 2 are also in the game, but as far as I'm aware there's no way of choosing to play a game with them or starting in those leagues. Once you've made your selection, the game will load into this main game screen, and it's one you're going to be seeing a lot while you play this. At first, all these different symbols can be a bit overwhelming and confusing, but thankfully the Evercade instruction manual for this cartridge comes to the rescue a lot here. They've got a full breakdown of what each symbol represents, along with other ones you'll run into on different screens, such as on the information screen or while using the telephone. Once you've gained your bearings and gone in and out of the various screens enough times, you should be able to navigate your way around the majority of the game without having to revert to the manual too often though. The first thing you're likely to do, simple as the symbol is flashing at you, is go and sign some sponsors for your ground. Sign some advertisers up and they'll send some cash your way on a week-to-week basis. Choose wisely though, as some deals will be better than others. Although the fact they've managed to add the Evercade and Blaze adverts into the game, replacing the old Sega ones, makes them hard not to choose. The next port of call is the top left hand symbol to get your team info. Here you can see your current lineup along with your game strategy, individual player info and info for your last match as well as your upcoming match. You can rearrange your team to your heart's content here, and the numbers will correspond to a player's ability at, in order, you've got handling, tackling, passing, shooting, fitness, aggression, morale and then finally the player's age. There's star ratings at the bottom for the different positions as well as an overall team rating. Your opponents will have the same as well, so this will give you an easier viewpoint into how your team is going to shape up against the others. Another key section of the game is the telephone. Here you can hire support staff at the job centre, a natural name for it, this being a game based in the 90s UK. And here you can hire physios, coaches, scouts, youth team trainers. They each have a rating, but I found while playing through you could always fire your current staff to hire a better rated coach if one turned up. I did this a fair few times. I didn't notice any penalties in the game for doing this, other than a slightly unclear conscience for all those poor coaches that I just sack out of nowhere. Your stadium and grounds can also be improved upon with the grounds editor section of the game. Here you can build new terraces for the stadium, you can add floodlights, say a roof, or improve the seating. Plus you can also build things like shops or car parks to go around the stadium. I'll be honest, I found this section a bit awkward to control, and I was constantly trying to restrict my button presses on the chance that I suddenly committed 500 grand of my limited money to building some seating that I didn't really need. I'd take it slow in this section for sure, it could definitely be laid out a little more clearly in my view. The next major section of the game to delve into is the transfer market. Here you can both buy and sell players, and you're likely to hit up this section earlier on in the game to get your team to the best possible strength and style to take the season on with. The game boasts over 1,500 players from the era in total, so there's plenty of names in there, and the market always seems to have a couple of pages of players available at different skill levels. The way you actually sign a player onto your team is where this section really fell apart for me. You can see the value of a particular player, such as Quigley here from Hull City, valued at £115,500. The game uses an auction style bidding system for you to actually make the purchase. You can't just outright offer an amount and then have it accepted or rejected by the team in question. You have to go through this bidding process on a number of rounds. You can see here that I'm the top bidder by just going in at the estimated value, but 4 other teams are in the mix. Despite the fact that my bid is highest, we have to continue on to those next rounds of bidding. So you offer the same amount, see what that gets you. Well now naturally the competition has picked up their efforts, and you'll find that now Leyton Orient are the top bidders. Well alright, let's get the big guns out, you say. You offer 20 grand over the value, and that should hopefully put you back above Leyton Orient and get the honour of Quigley here gracing your team. You make the bid, and then... Colchester have come out of nowhere to offer nearly 40 grand above the asking price. At this point you're probably wondering, do I even want Quigley? Do I even need Quigley? This has all kind of escalated a bit, and you're just a small team, you don't have unlimited funds, but hey, you've come this far, so why not commit? So you put in an offer for £170,000, and Colchester are beating you out by a mere 200 quid. There's no way of estimating what other bids will come in, so this kind of process can happen time and time again if you're trying to be frugal with the funds that you have. Even if you do go straight in with a bid way above the value, sometimes that just spurs the other teams on more. The whole thing can get really frustrating, none more so for me than when I had an injury crisis and I didn't have the required amount of players needed to field a team for my next match. I tried in vain to sign absolutely any midfielder, regardless of their age, skill or ability, just to plug the gap that I needed, but I was on a budget due to some earlier signings in the season, and I kept finding myself outbid in every attempt to sign someone. The whole process can be pretty annoying and quite long-winded, and I wish it was just removed entirely from the game. Thankfully, selling players, that tends to be a more straightforward affair, and you can pick the winning bid out yourself, out of what the other teams will offer you. If you manage to make some signings and then you're in wonder of where all your money is coming and going after all the action on the transfer market, you can go check out the bank. Here you'll get a full breakdown of all your income and expenditure, and if you're in need you can ask for a loan or an overdraft to keep you running. In a real sign of the times, there's a fax machine available for you to keep abreast of developments in the league. Occasionally it will flash up to tell you that a fax is waiting for you to be read. There's 4 sections to have a look at, and the news one is definitely the most interesting. You'll occasionally get tidbits such as having to pay for stadium repairs or a tax bill, or in this case you've netted 40 grand as your game was shown on live TV. You can also see some transfer news, and there's a section for upcoming fixtures, results and looking towards your next match. I feel the fax machine area of the game is a good idea but just isn't implemented enough. 3 of the sections are basically duplicated in other parts of the game, and the most interesting part, the news on your team, that doesn't tend to come up that often. Some more random events or even things coming up that require you to take some form of action based off of them, that would have been appreciated. Now when it finally comes down to seeing the football matches themselves unfold, there's a few different options that you can play around with depending on how much of the other leagues you want to keep an eye on. You can turn on or off coverage for all the leagues as well as the FA Cup and League Cup games in the options. This coverage will take place before you see your own game for that day, so it's up to you if you want to see that Newcastle United beat Arsenal 3-1 or whether you just want to crack on to your own game. I personally turned all of this off as you can just see the results in full after you've seen your own team's game without having to go through them one by one beforehand. The final feature on this setting page is different to the others though, as animations concerns coverage for your own team's matches. Animations will pop up during the game for goals, misses, cards and things like that. This one is just a cosmetic feature where it'll be down to personal preference what you prefer. I turned it off myself as I just prefer to blast through the games and the animations can take a little bit of extra time. Finally, we've reached the football matches themselves. So you've tinkered with the team, the stadium, all the settings, and now you're ready to go smash Rochdale on your first league game. How does it all shake out? Well, you've got a wide variety of speed options along with the animation options I mentioned just now, so it's up to you how you want to approach it. Speed options range from very slow to medium to fast to very fast, and then finally hitting ultra. Very slow is unbearably slow, to the point where you can see each pass of the ball unfold in blistering detail, while Ultra is so fast the game will be over before you've even really registered it as beginning. If you want to keep on top of what players seem to be doing well and how your tactics are working against each particular opposition team, then the different speeds give you the option to do this. I like to just blast through the games myself, so very fast tended to be my jam. In terms of visual presentation, it's all very text-based and you don't see any actual players on a field. As it's a Mega Drive version of a PC game, I wasn't expecting too much from it in terms of this, so I think it works fine for what it is, although it might have been nice to have a basic representation of the game unfolding on a pitch, perhaps with a simple top-down view, like games such as Ultimate Soccer Manager 2 from the MS-DOS days. So in terms of how I got on with Premier Manager, I played through most of the season with Brighton, and I found myself generally around the position of 6th to 8th place. Occasionally I'd flirt with going higher, but then a poor run of form or some injuries would kick in, and my momentum would stall. The game didn't seem keen on making the matches end in a draw, as I noticed at one point my record was 16 wins, 16 losses, and only 2 draws. I tend to play Football Manager games by picking my best team and tactics and then taking it a few games at a time, adjusting things if I pick up a few losses in a row. I think if I assessed each team before each game and then tried to counter their expected strategy, I could have performed a bit better, as well as if I slowed the game speed down to make a few more substitutions or tactical changes mid-game where necessary, but I personally like to try and get through the games and the seasons at a faster pace though. Your mileage may vary on how much time you want to sink into a season, and you might yield some better results out of it if you do take things slower. Overall thoughts on Prem 97 then, and it's an interesting one to try and grade. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10 score. It's a game where I was enjoying it up to a point, but I didn't find the game board as engaging as it could have been. You could keep an eye on the league tables and you got the odd bit of news off the fax machine, but otherwise I didn't really feel like the game board had that much going on in it. Some more news items coming in, some more random events, or dealing with players who have poor morale or end up caught in some kind of scandal or something would have made things more interesting. Even some goals from the club owners or chairman would have helped. Something like don't finish below 10th place would have given you more to work for as the season rolled on. Despite saying this, the game can have an addictive just one more match quality to it, especially if you find yourself on a good winning streak. The grounds editor and the transfer market section were weak points for me. The grounds editor is basic and somewhat awkward to use, while the transfer market can end up becoming a real headache if you're not willing to pay over the odds for someone, and even if you are, that can still be quite a time-consuming exercise to go through anyway. The actual way the matches played out worked well enough for me, and I appreciate all the different teams, leagues and players that they've packed into the game. But overall, while I've got some enjoyment out of it, I don't feel I had quite enough to keep me stuck at it. So thanks for joining me for this review of Premier Manager 97. Let me know if you've picked up the Gremlin Collection of the Evercade and checked this one out. Let loose in the comments below how you found it if you have played it, or if you played it on the Mega Drive back in the day as well. Any memories that you have of this one would be appreciated. If you've enjoyed this review, then it'd be great if you could leave me a quick thumbs up, and please subscribe for more Evercade reviews. Until next time, thanks for watching and take it easy.